questions tonight.
今晚有两个问题。
And both of these questions are going to be covered in our discussion tonight.
那么这两个问题呢，我们今晚都会谈到。
Will you bring this a little closer to your mic? Later on, we will actually cover in the material, in the new material tonight, we will cover out of sign aspects.
那么然后呢，我们也会讲一下，就是没有不是形成准确相位的这样一个星座。相位就是说不是在那个，就原来四分相是在这样的对的两个星座，我这个不知道怎么翻译。
That's a long phrase for out of sign aspects.
呀，就星座外的相位吧。
星座
外的相位。这个不知道。
All right. So what we're going to do now, though, is we're going to talk a little bit about the sextile and trine.
那么现在呢，我们先谈一下6分相和3分相。
And after I talk about that, I want to go over one other thing before we get into tonight's material.
然后我们谈完这个呢，我们可能还要谈一下另外一个东西，然后再讲今天晚上的这些材料。
Let's go back to this diagram here. This is kind of interesting. What I'm doing tonight is I always want to introduce to you ideas that will even make more sense to you, not only in this course, but when you go on and take the COAC course, it will even make more sense.
那么我们今天晚上呢，我们再回到这张图来，因为我希望给大家更多的资料。这个资料呢，能够让你们不仅在这个课堂上，你们会觉得会有一些收获，而且甚至说到了高阶课程上面，这个资料对你们来说，还会让你们一遍遍去想它。
Okay. I like that. All right. Every time I say something funny, you can have that go off like that.
因为我们刚才有一个同学的手机可能有一个很好玩的声音，老师说，每当他说笑话的时候，你都可以把那个声音放出来。音效，那是音效。
So what is a sextile aspect?
所以说6分相到底是什么意思呢？
Sextile aspect is an angle of 60 degrees.
那么6分相实际上是一个60度的这样一个角度。
If we look on the wheel of the natural zodiac, what two signs are 60 degrees from 0 Aries?
那么如果我们看一下自然黄道这张图，那哪两个星座是和白羊座成60度呢？
We see that the first sign that is 60 degrees from 0 Aries is Gemini.
我们看到第一个和白羊座成60度的是双子座。
And we don't get another sextile until we're on the journey back in the waning phase when we get a sextile at Aquarius.
那么然后呢，我们绕这个黄道，直到了水瓶座，我们才得到另外一个渐亏的6分相。
So in the so-called natural zodiac, the sign Aquarius and the sign Gemini are sextile Aries.
所以说，在自然黄道中，双子座和水瓶座，它们是和白羊座成6分相的星座。
Now, we know that signs that are sextile are also sextile signs that have the same polarity, so that positive signs, sextile positive signs, negative signs, sextile negative signs.
那我们也知道，这样的同样的极性的星座呢，它们是互相成这个相位的。成6分相的，比如说正向的星座，它们和正向的星座成6分相，而负向的星座跟负向的星座成6分相。
Another way of saying that is that fire and air signs sextile each other, and earth and water signs sextile each other.
那么换句话说，那么就是风象星座和火象星座呢成6分相，而土象星座和水象星座成6分相。
Okay. But when we go back and look at this natural zodiac, what does this tell us about the aspect of a sextile to see that Gemini and Aquarius are the natural sextiles of 0 Aries?
那么，但是如果我们回到这张图上面，那么双子座和水瓶座，它和白羊座成什么样的这样的6分相呢？
Well, when we look at the key word,
对，阳性和阴性，阳性和阴性，刚才是。
When we look at the key word for sextile, we see that key word is opportunity.
那么当我们看到六分相的关键词，我们看到它的关键词是机会。
What kind of opportunity?
那么是什么样的机会呢？
Opportunities like Gemini and Aquarius,
就是像双子座或者是水瓶座那样的机会。
which means very simple. Opportunities from everyday communications,
那这也是很简单的，是那种每天的这样的交流，从这个来的机会，来自交流的机会。
and opportunities through friends and associates, which is Aquarius.
另外就是说，像水瓶座那样，从我们的朋友和熟人那里面来的机会。
One of the things that I'm trying to do in this course is to sort of simplify your concepts of astrology a little bit.
我们这门课呢，实际上我试图想做的就是能够简化你们对占星的这些概念。
I'm not trying to say that there's not a lot of mysterious things about astrology.
我并不是说占星学没有那么多神秘的东西。
Because there are a lot of mysterious things about life.
因为人生确实有很多神秘之处。
A lot of times when you tell someone that you're interested in astrology, they say, "Oh, I like mysterious things."
很多时候，当你跟别人说我喜欢占星学，他们说我喜欢神秘事物。
And you think, well, I like mysterious things too.
那你说我也好像喜欢神秘事物。
But you also know that astrology is astrologic.
但是你们同时也知道，占星学实际上是新的逻辑。
And I don't want to take away your sense of awe or mystery with astrology, which, by the way, over the years will actually grow.
实际上，我也不想拿走你们对于占星学感到的那种惊讶和它令人惊叹还有神秘之处。实际上，随着越来越年长，这些神秘之处也会在增长。
Right. But what I hope is that by simplifying the language of astrology, the logic of astrology.
对，但是呢，我希望的是通过简化占星学的逻辑，
that it will become a way for you to understand life.
那么它就会变成你理解生命的一种方式。
Because astrology is not something mysterious that happens independent of life.
因为占星学并不是独立于生活的这样的神秘之物。
Astrology is a part of everything in life.
占星学是我们生命的一切的部分。
Okay? So when we talk about the aspect of the sextile, we're talking about the opportunities that occur every day.
实际上，当我们谈论六分相的时候，我们谈论的是每天都在发生的这样的机会。
You get phone calls, you get texts, you get emails.
你接到了一个电话，你接到了一个短信，你接到了一封邮件，
You have conversations with people.
你和别人在交流。
Or you have friends who try to introduce you to people.
你有朋友，这些朋友想给你引荐给他人，
Or you belong to clubs or organizations.
或者是你属于某一个组织、某一个俱乐部。
Someone says to you, I have a friend I want you to meet. I think they can help you in business.
那么有人可能对你说，我有个朋友，我想你去见一见，我觉得他可以在生意上对你有所帮助。
This is an opportunity.
这就是一个机会。
Now, you can either take advantage of an opportunity or not.
当然，你可以利用这个机会，或者是放弃这个机会。
We have a choice.
我们总有选择。
And quite frankly, you can't take advantage of all opportunities, or you would only be trying to take advantage of opportunities and never completing anything.
换句话说，你不可能老是想利用一个机会，如果这样做的话，你永远不可能把一个机会the second part
You would never complete anything.
你什么事儿也做不成了， 不
Right.
能老是想着去利用机会。
But we all need these kinds of opportunities.
但是我们都需要这样的机会。
Now, it's true. If you see a chart, and in this chart, there are a lot of sextile aspects,
没错，如果你看到一个星图，这个星图上有很多的六分相，
especially sextile aspects involving what we know as the personal planets, the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars.
特别是我们所知道的在个人行星之间形成的6分相。
Then you know this person is someone who naturally attracts or creates opportunities.
那你知道这个人呢，他自然的总是会吸引或者是创造机会。
You may look at them and say, wow, I would love to have those kind of opportunities.
你可能看着这个人说，我要有这样的机会就好了。
But to them, it may not even be a very big deal.
但是对他们来说，好像根本不是一件什么大事儿。
Because they're used to it.
因为他们太习惯了。
And they probably have lots of opportunities that just pass them by.
他们有很多这样的机会就擦肩而去，有很多这种擦肩而去的机会。
And so understand that a sextile might be a good thing, it might not be a good thing.
所以你们要理解这一点，一个6分相可能是个好事儿，也可能不是个好事儿。
An opportunity can be a good thing, it might not be a good thing.
一个机会可能是件好事儿，也可能不是件好事儿。
But an opportunity is something that you have to take advantage of.
但是呢，这个机会呢，其实是你应该去利用的。
And it happens in these kinds of normal ways.
而且是像我们日常的这样的方式，就会有这样的机会。
All right, what about the trine?
那么3分相又是什么意思呢？
We go back and take a quick look at the zodiac here.
如果我们回到这张星图上，
What signs are trine to Aries in the natural zodiac?
在自然黄道中和白羊座成3分相的星座又是哪些呢？
Meaning what signs are 120 degrees away from 0 Aries?
也就是说，哪些星座和白羊座0度的白羊座成120度呢？
We see that it's 120 Leo and 120 Sagittarius, or 240.
我们看到是120度和白羊座成120度的狮子座，还有射手座。
All right. And what do we know about Leo?
那么我们了解狮子座什么呢？
Leo's very dynamic.
狮子座是一个非常有活力的星座，
Leo likes to take charge of things and does so easily.
而且狮子座喜欢他主导一切，而且很容易他就站出来了。
Leo struts across the stage of life and makes it look easy.
那么狮子座的人呢，他们能够大踏步的跨过人生，而且看上去非常的轻松。
Sagittarius also makes it look easy.
而且射手座的人也是把一切把一切弄得好像看上去很轻松。
Laughing as they walk along.
他们走过你的时候，他们大笑着。
Being optimistic and philosophical.
非常乐观，充满哲学观点。
A trine aspect tends to behave this way.
那么一个3分相，它的表现的行为就是这个样子。
Trines may often represent talents.
那么3分相常常代表着我们的才华。
Talents that infuse the person with some confidence or optimism.
那么这种才华让这个人充满了自信。
But guess what?
但是你猜会怎样呢？
Trines can also be a mark of laziness.
那么3分相也是一个懒惰的标志。
Because they're things that occur so easily.
因为你发生的太容易了。
Now, I find that with a lot of people, the trine can be very helpful if the same planet that is in a trine with another planet is square another planet.
我发现对很多人来说，如果是在3分相里的行星，同时又跟另外一个行星成4分相，这个3分相呢，会让他们的这个4分相会更轻松一些。
Then the person may use that trine to help them with the more challenging issue.
因为这个人呢，这时候就会利用这个3分相应对那些更有挑战性的议题。
But a lot of times the trines are things in ourselves and in our lives that we take for granted.
但是很多时候呢，一个3分相会让我们把我们内在的一些才华，或者是我们生活的一些事情，我们把它当做理所当然的了。
Let's say you're born with perfect pitch.
我们说你的音调哈，你生来就有非常美妙的这个音调。
You can hear a piano and know that it's out of tune.
你可以听那个 钢琴的声音，而且知道这个钢琴跑调了。
You can tell a C sharp from a C major right away.
你可以立刻知道这个是 C 大调，还有或者 C 降调的不同。
Right. And yet, are you a musician? Do you make a living doing that?
但是你是个音乐家吗？你是以此谋生吗？
No.
不是的。
No. At parties, sometimes you'll sit down at the piano and play.
那么有时候你就坐在钢琴边，随便弹一弹。
And people say, "Oh, you play really well. I didn't know you played piano."
那别人对你说，哎，你弹的真不错，我不知道你弹钢琴啊。
You're like, "Oh yeah, I've been doing this since I was a kid."
你说，嗨，我从小就是在弹钢琴。
You know, it's just, it's easy.
对我来说，这特别简单。
But maybe there's something else they spend a lot of time on that they're working on that is a square.
但是也许这个人呢，他花了很多时间去做的就是他们的四分相。
Right. I was thinking just then actually of my cousin.
我实际上刚才我在想我的表兄。
He has a trine in his chart involving Neptune.
那么他有一个海王星包含在内的三分相。
And he was a Marine, actually, a soldier, a Marine.
他是一个海军。
During Vietnam.
在那个越战中，他是一个海军。
But he spent most of his 4 years in the Marines.
但是他在海军里面的前4年的大部分时间
playing piano at the Officers Club in Hawaii.
实际上就是在夏威夷的军官俱乐部弹钢琴。
Because he had this lovely trine with Neptune.
因为他有和这个海王星形成的这个可爱的三分相。
And even though he was a Marine,
虽然他是一个海军
he didn't go into battle.
他并没有去参战。
Okay, see, so trines tend to operate this way.
所以说三分相呢，常常是以这种方式在运作着。
Okay. Now Noel Till says something very interesting about trines.
Noel Till 他说过一个对三分相非常有趣的这样一个论断。
He says trines can sometimes serve as defense mechanism.
他说三分相有时候它是作为一个防御机制来运作的。
This is a more psychological approach to a chart.
这是一个看星图的更心理学的方式。
And Noel Till, of course, pays a special attention to what's called a grand trine.
那么 Noel Till 呢，特别注意那种大三角。
A grand trine is when you have 3 planets and they're all trine each other.
那么大三角是你有3个行星，它们互相成为三分相。
Okay, and Noel Till says that's quite a defense mechanism.
Noel Till 说这可是一个相当大的防御机制。
And really, what he means by this is it's something that comes so easy to you that it's easy for you to use that as a way of easily defending yourself.
那么他的意思是，这个对你来说太容易了，所以说你常常用这个方式来就是防御，
But
作为
again,
防御机制。
again, it's the squares that we work at.
但是不过呢，话说回来，我们更多的时间还是花在四分相上。
Now, Bruce Lee, all of you know about Bruce Lee, right?
大家都知道李小龙，对吧？
Okay. Bruce Lee had some trines in his chart.
李小龙他的星图上有一个大三角，
But he has some squares
一
too.
个三分相，但同时他也有四分相。
Do you think his Mars and Pluto were trine each other or square each other?
你认为他星图上的火星和冥王星是成三分相还是四分相呢？
They were square.
他们是四分相，
They were square.
他们是四分相。
He worked on that all the time.
他时时刻刻都在对那个进行努力着。
He put a lot of pressure on himself.
他让自己承担了非常多的压力。
Working always on developing his body, his muscles, his ability to do martial arts.
总是在健身，让他的肌肉更强健，能够还有在武术上面。
He had Mars in Scorpio, square Pluto.
他的火星在天蝎座四分冥王星。
And he turned that square into a talent.
他把这个四分相变成了一个才华。
Yes, into a great ability.
那么 他拥有了这样了不起的这样的能力。
And you will see this with people again and again.
你会不断的看到有这样的人，四分相的人。
All right, now let's move on here. So those are your answers to the sextile and the trine.
这就是给大家的6分相和3分相的回答。
Okay, is there another question over here before? Because I had some other ones.
Yeah, I don't know what question is.
Let's just go back and see. Because I saw one pop up.
刚才那个林瑞是问的什么问题啊？
Oh, that was it. Hold on. Oops.
不是你问的。那算了，等一会儿再说吧。
Where'd it go? Let's try again.
No, it's okay. Please go on.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. 大三角。If involve ascendant, can it be grand trine?
Technically, no, but in operation, yes.
虽然说在技术上面来说呢，那个点就上升点中间呢，它们不算是大三角，但是实际上我们在实践的时候，确实把它放进大三角。
Us astrologers, we tend to be kind of crazy people.
作为占星师呢，实际上我们是一些比较疯狂的人，疯子。
疯狂的 yeah. What? But let me finish. Hold on. Let me finish. So what I want to say is that if you were to ask Sue Tompkins or any really good professional astrologer, they would say it has to be a planet to actually be involved in the aspect formation, be it a cross or a T-square or a grand trine.
所以说，如果你像你问那个苏汤普金斯这样的问题，从理论上说呢，他会说，如果要形成一个相位形成某一种格局的话呢，必须是行星不论是什么大三角啊，还有大十字啊等等。
And technically, in terms of how you classify the aspect, they're right.
没错，如果是从技术而言，如果是你这样来看相位的话呢，确实是如此。
However, the ascendant can definitely operate that grand trine or that T-square in practice.
但是毫无疑问，在我们的经验中，那个上升点毫无疑问可以是组成大三角或者大十字的一部分，T 三角的一部分。Does we include the north?
I'm probably Stephen Forrest and I would be the only astrologers I know would do that.
可能只有 Stephen Forrest 还有大卫他们把这个南北焦点也放进大十字、大三角这样。
There might be some others. Jeff Green might do that.
也可能杰夫格林也会这么做。
But most astrologers feel it's just the planets.
大多数占星师们他们可能对这个问题的回答是不，他们只看行星。
I try not to get too hung up on these aspect formations.
而且我不是很纠结于这个相位格局。
I like to just think about the overall tone of the chart. You'll see as we get into it.
我更多的去想这个星图的整个的这个调子是什么样的。
Just remember the aspects are the complications of the story. So we don't want to complicate it any more than it already is.
你就要知道这个相位呢，实际上已经是一个故事的复杂之处了，所以我们没必要再让这个故事更复杂了。
Okay, all right. Did that answer that question?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Now, one thing that I skipped over last week that I want to cover tonight.
那么上周我们跳过去没有讲，那么今晚我们希望能够讲一讲的。
And I only skipped over it because I expect that all of you know this and have memorized it.
我之所以跳过这部分没讲，是因为我希望你们大家都背下来了。
Some of you may say, why did he put this simplified astrological alphabet in here? We know this already.
有些人可能问，为什么大卫老师又把这个简化的黄道字母表放在这儿呢？我们早已经知道了。
I put this in here because I want you to start using these words when you think of the sign, planet, and house.
我之所以放在这里面呢，是我希望你们在用这些词，当你想到宫位和星座的时候。
Again, I know that there's a difference between a planet, house, and a sign.
当然我知道，行星、星座和宫位它们是不同的。
But they resonate in very similar ways in human nature.
但是他们在人性上面是以非常相似的方式在共振的。
If you have a friend, a person you know, and they have a lot of personal planets in the first house, that energy is going to seem a little like Aries.
如果你认识一个朋友，他有很多的行星都在落在第一宫，那么这些行星的能量的表现就有点像白羊座。
Even if all the planets in that first house are in Libra.
即便是所有的那些行星都落在天秤座
or Cancer.
或者是巨蟹座，
You will have a more assertive Cancer, a more assertive Libra.
那这个人呢是一个更决断的、更果断的天秤座或者是巨蟹座的人。
So it's kind of like you're adding Aries to that sign when you see a house like that.
所以说，如果你看到这样一个宫位，就是第一宫，像在星图上是这样的话，就好像把那个白羊座和巨蟹座里面加入了，不是把天秤座和巨蟹座里面加入了白羊座的感觉。
Right, and the same would be as one of our students, Wee-Jun says, what about 3 personal planets in Virgo in the first house?
有位同学说，如果3个个人行星在处女座一宫，又会如何呢？
I'll show you how that operates.
我告诉你们，这样会是怎
You take this pen.
？OK，这会是怎么样表现出来？
Is that broken? Let me see that.
他
That's
说，
Virgo in the first house.
他会说，你看那个是不是断了？让我看一看，坏了那个底。
See,
这就是
assertive Virgo. I'll fix it.
这就是处女座一宫的表现。他说那个是不是坏了？我来帮你修好。
Just snatch that right out of your hand.
他就刚才大卫老师的，就是说直接把这个笔从我手里面拿过去了。
Okay. So you see, this is the way it's going to be when you see those planets in the first house.
所以你看看，这就是这些在一宫的行星的表现方式。
Now, there are exceptions to this.
OK， 那么当然也有例外，
Okay. For example,
比如说
suppose Saturn is in the first house.
比如说假若土星在第一宫，
Saturn, we know, has a lot to do with sometimes inhibition.
我们知道土星常常会让我们的行为是有抑制性的这样的作用，
Or being really careful.
或者是特别的谨慎。
So this individual may not be as assertive as you might think with that Saturn in the first house.
所以说土星在第一宫的时候呢，这个人呢，他可能不像你想象的那样的果断决断，
Until they become mature.
直到他们变得更为成熟的时候。
Saturn favors maturity.
土星是更偏好成熟的。
This is the person that as they get older, they become more confident, more mature, less inhibited, and they begin to assert their Saturn more.
那么这个人呢，当他年长的时候呢，他就会变得更为自信，更为成熟。他们会把自己的土星这个面向更表达出来。
Somebody says, after they see a friend from childhood 30 years later, 40 years later,
有人说，当他们在30年后、40年后再见到他童年的朋友的时候，
wow, look at you, you're the manager of this company.
他说，你瞧你成了这个公司的管理者了。
Who would have thought you were such a quiet child?
谁会想到你会成为这样的人呢？你原来是那么安静，小时候。
That's Saturn in the first house.
这就是土星在第一宫的表现。
So another thing to think of is remember that astrology, a chart is always moving, always changing. People are growing, they are growing into the chart.
另外你要想，这个星图它永远是在成长的，在变化的，人们慢慢会成为就是说走进这个星图，成为那样一个人。
If the moon, I don't want to just be dealing with the first house, but I'm giving you examples.
我再给大家一个例子，当然我不想只做一宫但是我们再看一个例子。
If the moon's in the first house, it is a more assertive moon.
如果月亮在一宫的话呢，这个月亮就会是更表达自己的那个月亮。
Do you think the emotions show in their body and face when the moon's in the first house?
你想，如果一个人的月亮在第一宫的话，他们的情绪会不会在脸上、身体上都表现出来呢？
Yes.
是的，当然会。
What if it's a moon in Scorpio, you say?
如果是这个月亮在天蝎座会什么样？
Scorpio doesn't like to show emotion
月亮天蝎座的人根本不喜欢表达他们的情感，
unless they're ready to.
除非他们已经准备好了表现情感，除非他们准备好了。
Well, you would see some of this agony in the face of a moon in Scorpio in the first house.
你可以看到这个月亮在天蝎座一宫日，他脸上的这种痛苦。
I want to tell you how I feel.
我想告诉你我的感受。
You see this in their face. They're struggling.
你可以在那个他们的脸上看到这种表情啊，因为他们一直在挣扎。
They might develop a little tick here, you know.
甚至说他们这个地方都会有一些那个小纹路。
And then the emotion.
会在跳动啊，在跳动。
Yeah, and then the emotion finally comes out. Very passionate, very powerful.
最终他们的情感终于表达出来了，非常强烈，非常的有力。
Somebody might ask, well, what about the 7th house?
那有人说，那7宫呢？
What if somebody's got 3 Aries planets in the 7th house?
如果有一个人他在7宫落了3颗白羊座的行星，又会如何？
You have a more cooperative Aries.
这个人就是一个更容易与他人配合的白羊座了。
Okay? There's, you know, they still are very mindful of their own self-interest.
他们对于自己的自我的利益还是很清晰的。
But they've also learned that relationships can serve their self-interest.
但是他们也学到了，关系可以能够有助于他们的自我的利益。
See? And therefore they've learned more about negotiation, about building relationships, all of those things.
所以说他们也学到了更多的关于建立关系，还有关系上的这样一些东西。
Right? Or how to fight with others too.
或者是怎么样跟别人干仗。
Yeah, which would be Aries in the 7th.
这是白羊座7宫的白羊座。
All right. So this is, again, I want you to just review all the time this alphabet of astrology.
所以说呢，我希望你们时时刻刻的都去回顾这个占星的黄道字母表。
Okay? And this is also going to help you as you learn more and more about astrology, learn about charts. You'll know these themes automatically.
然后这也会帮你们越来越学好占星学，你会自动的就能够看到这一点，星图上的这一切。
And just think about it. Sometimes you can go back, and I know these are very simple. You go back and look at these pictures and think of these keywords, and just let it sink in.
有时候可能觉得，哎呀，这太简单了。但是呢，你们确实需要不断的回顾，直到这些东西真的都在你们的心里面沉淀下来。
We have a great question from Wonderful.
Wonderful 问了一个问题，他说下降点和下中天是否包含在相位里面呢？
I love the name Wonderful. It sounds like wonderful.
王德福，王德佛，这样叫 Wonderful。
Yes.
这个拼音啊。
Yes. All right. Yes. So they wanted to know. Did you tell everyone what the question was?
Yes.
Okay. Good. All right. Okay. So always, when you're talking about the angles, you're talking about ascendant, descendant, MCIC.
所以说，当我们谈到4轴的时候，我们就谈的是上升、下降、中天和下中天。
Like the old song says, you can't have one without the other.
正如有一首老歌是，你不可能只有一个没有另外一个，无事不成双。
Unless you're on a desert island.
除非是你在一个荒岛上。
There's a me and a you.
那时候有你有我。
You can't have one, even if you live alone.
即便是你独自一人生活。
There was a movie with Tom Hanks, some of you may have seen, years ago called Castaway.
在汤姆汉克斯很多年前有个叫绿里。叫什么
？Tom Hanks. Castaway, I think it was called.
孤岛求生。
Right. Okay. And in this, he's alone on a desert island.
那个电影里面呢，他一个人在一个荒岛上。
And he creates this other person out of a stick and so forth, and becomes the person he talks to.
然后他就用树枝呢，就搭了一个人，然后这个人呢就会成为他跟他对话的这样一个人。
To keep him from going crazy.
有这个人存在呢，他才没有发疯。
Because human beings we are social creatures.
因为人类我们是社交动物。
He even carried this thing with him on his raft when he escaped from the island.
当他从这个荒岛上逃跑的时候呢，他还是把这个假人带着上了他的竹筏。
That little thing he made out of sticks and leaves and cloth and whatnot was his friend, his buddy, his partner.
他自己 做的这个假人，就用树枝啊、树叶呀、做的衣服啊做的假人，成了他的好朋友。
And when a storm came along and knocked it away and he lost it, he was mourning.
当一个大风暴把这个假人给吹走的时候呢，他非常的哀痛。
Tells us how important relationships are.
这告诉我们关系是多么的重要。
To all of us.
对我们每个人都是如此。
Okay, all right. Let's go on to tonight's material. Here we go.
我们看看今晚的课吧，资料。
All right, some of you have technical questions a little bit about how to find aspects.
有人有一些技术上的问题，我们怎么能看到星图上的相位呢？
Some of you may be really good at finding aspects. You're like, I don't need this. I find them right away.
可能有些同学已经很熟练，他说我根本不需要听这个讲座，我一点就能看到相位。
But for many of us, it takes a while to sort of see all the aspects.
但是我们大多数人呢，还是要花一段时间才能看到所有的这些相位。
Okay, and there are different ways of finding them, but here's some ways.
有各种不同的方式来看到相位。
First, just identify the planet or point that's in the earlier sign.
首先你要看一下那些在星座前面的这些行星。
Count the degrees as if the aspect were exact.
你就这样数，好像它这个相位呢能够就是紧密成像的。
Add or subtract the degrees of the planet or point in the later sign.
然后呢，你加上或者是减去在后面的那个度数。
This material's got a little wrinkle in it tonight.
这个好像这个材料这上面有点不太对头。
Pluto is supposed to be at 16 degrees Scorpio. It looks like a sort of L6.
这个材料上的冥王星实际上应该是天蝎座16度44分。
Okay. So here we see that we can say, what if the sun was already at 16 degrees 44 minutes? How many degrees would there be between Pluto and the sun?
所以我们可以说，如果是太阳已经到了水瓶座16度，那么它和冥王星和太阳之间度数是多少呢？
Now remember, we did this last week.
记得我们上周做过这个。
Okay, you can count from 16 Scorpio to 16 Sag, and you get 30 degrees.
然后你从天蝎座16度44分，然后到射手座16度44分，这就是30度。
Right, and then from 16 Sag, 16 Capricorns, 30, and so forth.
然后呢，射手座16度44分到摩羯座是30度，摩羯座16度40分到水瓶座又是30度。
And we add it all up, and there's our 90 degrees.
我们把它们加一下，这就是90度。
However, the sun is actually at 12 degrees of Aquarius, 20 minutes.
但是呢，实际上这个星图上的太阳呢是在12度。
Right? Which, if we subtract the 1220 from the 1644, shows that it's 4 degrees and 24 minutes from exact.
所以说我们把16度44分减去12度20分呢，它得到的是4度24分。
Which is within the orb of 7 degrees that we use.
这是在我们的4分相的7度的容许度之内的。
Okay. Now, for some of you, you may think, oh, this is a very Virgo way of doing this.
有人可能说这是太过于处女座来做这个的方式了。
However, this method will help you find all the aspects.
不过呢，这样的方式可能让你找到所有的相位。
All right. And we have other examples here. You can even list the exact degree of the angle, for example, here.
甚至你可以把这个4轴的准确的度数
Okay. Any
给画
questions?
出来。
Any questions about that?
大家对这个有没有什么疑问呢？
All right. Here's another example.
When you do minus, when you do
Oh,
add.
we have one. What's that?
When you do minus, when you do add.
I don't understand.
One is minus, the other is add something.
Yeah,
One is subtract.
you can do it either way. You can do it either way.
你其实加法和减法都无所谓。
If you like to subtract, subtract. If you like to add, add. Just make sure you're doing it correctly.
你想做减法就做减法，你喜欢做加法就做加法，你只要做对了就好。
Okay. All right. All right. Here we have Mercury at 20 degrees of Cancer, 38 minutes. Neptune, 22 Sag, 27.
这里面水星是巨蟹座20度38分，海王星是射手座22度27分。
Okay. So we can add up all these 30-degree signs here.
然后呢，你就把这个所有的30度的 相位呢，星座这30度加起来。
Okay, until we find out that we've got, if we do it exact to 22 degrees of the sign, we'll get 150 degrees.
直到我们就是正好到22度，那就是150度，适合做22度。
Which is the quincunx.
这就是梅花相位。
But if we want to know, well, is it within orb or not?
但是我们想知道是不是正好在容许度之内。
Here we subtract to find out.
然后我们就减去一下。
We see the difference is 1 degree and 49 minutes.
我们看到这个不同是1度49分的不同。
So clearly the answer is within the orb of 3 degrees.
毫无疑问，这个正好是在3度的容许度之内。
And notice, just like the question before, in this example, you must add the amount to 150 to get the exact angle because Mercury is moving back towards Neptune.
在这个例子中呢，你要把这个1度加到150度上，因为这个水星呢是朝向海王星去的。
So the angle is 151 degrees and 49 minutes.
所以说呢，它的实际上的角度是151度49分。
Now the question may be, well, how do you know this?
你可能是你说你怎么会知道呢？
Okay, Mercury is a planet that moves much faster than Neptune.
因为水星是比海王星运动的快得多的行星。
And at this stage in your study, I hope all of you will go out and get, if you don't have one already, an ephemeris.
到你们现在的这个水平上呢，我希望大家手上都有一个清历表。如果你们还没有呢，就赶快去买一本。
The one I'm holding up here is for the 21st century.
我这里拿的是21世纪的清历表。
But you'll need to get one for the 20th century.
但你还要买一本20世纪清历表。
So you can look back at how the planets were moving when you and your friends were born.
所以说你可以看一看，当你和你的朋友出生的时候，行星它的运行是怎么样的。
You will find that using an ephemeris is faster than using your iPhone.
你会发现用心历表比用你的iPhone 上的软件更快。
And that you can see more this way.
而且用这种方式你能看到的东西更多。
Especially when the birth time is unknown.
特别是如果这个人的出生时间不知道的话。
Or uncertain, you can at least get the planets real quick.
就是说，或者是他们不确信的话，你至少可以很快的看看那个行星的位置。
Now, a lot of you will get tired of hearing me refer to the ephemeris, but I do. The further along in the courses you get, the more you will hear me shouting about the ephemeris.
可能很多人都不想再听我就又提到心历表了嘛。不过你们学的越多，我会更多的提到这个心历表。
It's called the American ephemeris, and you can get it for the 21st century at midnight or the 20th century.
这就叫美国心历表，你们可以拿到20世纪的和21世纪的两个。
I don't know why they called it the American ephemeris.
我不知道他们为什么叫美国心历表。
Right. Had nothing to do with patriotism.
这个和爱国主义没有什么关系。
All right. But I knew the scientist that founded the company that printed these. I knew him.
但是我认识这个科学家，他们出版这本书的那个。
He's been dead for many years, but his name was Neil Michelson.
他已经过世多年了，他的名字是叫 Neil Michelson。
He was a very important scientist that contributed a lot to astrology.
他是一个非常重要的对占星贡献良多的科学家。
And the accuracy that he used with the early computers back in the 60s and 70s was a new thing in astrology.
对，在1960年和那个年代呢，他就是那个还没有计算机的年代，他这个精度是相当高的。
See, when I first got into astrology, we didn't have personal computers.
因为当我学占星的时候，我们还没有个人计算机。
It didn't exist. So they had the big mainframe computer.
是他们有一个那种大型机。
And Michelson had one of those.
Michelson 呢有那样一个大型计算机。
And he created some of the first astrological programs in these big giant IBM computers.
他是在那个大的 IBM 的计算机上面，他第一个就是做了这个软件星图软件。
Which was very exciting to us astrologers.
这对于我们占星师来说是非常令人兴奋的事情。
And that's where these came from.
这是怎么来的这个心历表。
Okay, enough history. All right. So another question here, Astro. No? Okay. Let's go on. Here we go. The no-door girl has a question.
那么这个落道女孩有一个问题。
Yeah. By the way, if any of you know her, do not give her name away. Okay?
如果你们有人认识这个落道女孩，不要泄露她的名字。
You know she doesn't like that.
你们知道她不喜欢别人知道她是谁。
She'll say bad things about you in WeChat.
她会在微信里面说你的坏话的。
Okay. She says, isn't it easier to find aspects just by looking at the signs?
她说，难道只通过查看星座找出相位不是更简单吗？
All signs of like elements, fire, earth, air, water, are trying each other, right?
所有相同元素的星座，即火象星座、土象星座、风象星座、水象星座之间都彼此形成三分相，不是吗？
And all signs of like modality, meaning cardinal, fixed, or mutable, are either square or opposite, correct?
那所有模式相同的星座之间，即基本星座、固定星座或变动星座之间，它们要么形成四分相，要么形成对分相，对吗？
Well, the answer, of course, is in the natural zodiac, this is true.
那么我回答是在自然黄道中这是正确的。
And it can very often be true in the actual chart.
在实际的星图中也常常是正确的。
Which can be helpful, but just helpful in finding aspects.
这有助于我们找出相位，不过也只是有助于。
However, please remember that aspects are measured by degrees.
但是一定要记得，相位呢是用度数来衡量的。
And you can have, as we're going to see tonight, what are called out of sign aspects.
你们可能会有星座外的这样的相位成像。
Therefore, finding aspects by sign only could be misleading.
所以说，如果你只用这个刚才说的那种三种方式来找星座、找相位的话呢，可能会有所误导。
For example, Mars in the sign of Capricorn could actually trine Jupiter in Aries.
比如说在摩羯座的火星，可能会和在白羊座的木星成三分相。
Two signs that are normally square each other in the natural zodiac.
在自然黄道中，这两个星座其实是成四分相的。
Suppose natal Mars was at 2 degrees of Capricorn and natal Jupiter was at 28 degrees of Aries. What is the exact angle between them?
假设说，本命盘的火星在摩羯座2度，而本命盘的木星在白羊座的28度，它们之间是到底相距多少度呢？
Okay. Well, if we look at this, we think, well, wait a minute, let's see. If Mars was at 28 Capricorn, we would have an exact square, but it's not.
你可能会想，如果是火星在摩羯座28度的话，那么就正好成一个精确的四分相。但是现在不是如此。
However, Mars is only 2 degrees, which is 26 degrees before an exact square.
实际上呢，火星是在2度，它是在一个精确四分相之前26度。
Okay. So what you've got here is you can say, okay, well, so that's 26 degrees. So what if I add 26 degrees to 90?
所以说你说这是26度，如果是我把那个26度加到90度是什么样呢？
And you get 116 degrees.
那么你得到的是116度。
Is this within the 7-degree orb of trine?
这是不是在三分相的7度容许度之内呢？
Yes, it is.
确实如此。
All right. And how do you explain this? What does this mean?
但是这个到底什么意思呢？这星座外的三分相。
Here, look at this picture. I love this, the out of sign trine. Here we have, let's say, two energies that are normally in conflict.
那实际上呢，这个我们看到的是两个一般来说它是互相挑战的能量。
So now we have greater ease between two signs that generally challenge each other.
但是呢，这是在两个互相挑战的这个星座之间呢，却有了一种非常轻松的这种能量流动。
Like two people that are often conflicted finding themselves more at ease with each other.
好像你可以想象两个经常起冲突的人，发现他们相处变得容易了。
Now, an out of sign trine may not express as purely as an in sign trine.
星座外的三分相的表现可能不如星座内的三分相表现那么纯粹。
But it still shows the ability in the person to harmonize two very different motivated energies.
但它仍然显示了这个人呢，他有能力对两种推动力非常不同的能量，他有这样的协调能力。
What could be a dilemma now finds easier expression.
本来可能代表这种困境的事情，现在找到了更轻松的表达方式。
So let's break this down a little in terms of what this means.
所以说，我们把这个分解一下，看看这个相位到底是什么意思吧。
Okay, let's think about Mars and Jupiter first.
我们首先想一想火星和木星的含义。
Mars has a lot to do with action.
那么火星呢，它实际上是跟我们的行为联系在一起的。
Mars is also a very physical planet.
火星也是一个非常的身体的体力的这样一个行星。
Like the ascendant, Mars has a lot to do with the body language of our movement.
就像上升一样，火星也和我们行动的这个身体语言联系在一起。
Okay. Now, if Mars and Jupiter were square each other, what would that mean?
如果火星和木星成四分相，这意味着什么？
Okay. Jupiter is expansive. Jupiter is excessive.
那么木星呢，它是扩张的，它是过度的。
So this would show a tendency to overdo.
那么如果是成四分相呢，就会表现出来它会做得过头了这种倾向。
Sometimes overdoing physically.
有时候他在身体上面会做得过头了。
One of my sons has a Mars-Jupiter square.
我的一个儿子有这样的火木四分相。
He is notorious for deciding, today I will run 7 miles.
那么他是一个金牛座，他有时候会决定，今天我要跑7英里。
Has he been running regularly?
他会是很固定的这样的跑吗？
Not really.
不是如此，并非如此。
So he'll go and do this because he's a great runner.
但是他还会去做，因为他是一个很棒的跑步运动员。
Or he used to be.
他过去是这样的。
And the next day he'll be like, oh.
那么第二天他就说累死了。
Oh my God.
太累了。
What did I do to myself?
我昨天
I can't believe I ran 7 miles yesterday.
我不敢相信，昨天跑了7英里。
My muscles are killing me.
我的肌肉疼死
I
了。
can barely walk.
我连走都走不动了。
I'm like, when are you going to learn?
我会对他说，你什么时候才能学到点教训呀？
So he has had to work at this.
所以说呢，他必须对这个进行一些努力，对这个四分相。
And this has taken, like any square, it takes work, it takes effort.
就像任何四分相一样呢，这你都需要努力才能调节。
But here we have a trine.
但是在这个例子中呢，是一个三分相。
And I love this picture on the right of the girl stretching.
我喜欢这个在这儿伸腿的这个压腿的这个女孩。
Now, we know we've got Mars in Capricorn, which means the person has this natural ability when it comes to being a little more responsible, a little more cautious about their action.
他的火星在摩羯座，我们知道呢，这个人呢一般是对于他们的行为更谨慎一些，
And Jupiter
而且
has,
更有责任感。
and Jupiter has a lot to do with knowledge and belief system.
木星和我们的知识和信念体系相关。
This might be someone who actually listens to their personal trainer.
所以这个人呢，他可能会听他个人教练的话。
Somebody with Mars square Jupiter might argue with their personal trainer.
那一个火星和木星成四分相的人，可能会跟他们的个人健身教练争辩。
I can lift this by myself.
我一个人就能把这个举起来。
That's Mars square Jupiter.
这是火星和木星的四分相。
Pushing the personal trainer away.
他们把他们的教练给推开。
You know, I've got it.
我能举起来。
See, but the trine says easy.
但是呢，那个三分相说放轻松一些。
Harmony.
更和谐一些。
Okay. I'm going to stretch my muscles before I exercise.
在我锻炼之前，我先压腿，把肌肉拉开。
I'm going to prepare my body for this activity.
我会让我的身体更做好准备才开始运动。
So you can think about how that represents the trine in this case versus a square.
所以说你可以想想，在这个例子中，3分相和4分相它的不同。
Now, this is an interesting example.
这是一个非常有趣的例子。
I want you to think about this.
我希望大家想一想。
We have Jupiter in Aries.
这个木星是在白羊座。
Aries is a Mars sign.
白羊座是火星的星座。
Somebody with Jupiter in Aries probably has a philosophy or even perhaps a belief system about exercise and self-reliance.
那么一个木星在白羊座的人，对于自力更生还有那个锻炼，可能有自己的哲学观。
I know someone with Jupiter in Aries. You know what they said to me one time?
我认识木星在白羊座的人，你知道他们有一次跟我说什么吗？
I have a philosophy of self-reliance.
我对于自力更生有我的哲学理念。
This is Jupiter in Aries.
这就是木星在白羊座。
I believe that everyone should be able to take the initiative and pull themselves up in life by their own efforts.
我认为每个人都应该是积极主动的，让自己的不断的向上，在人生中。
That's a Jupiter in Aries philosophy.
这是一个木星在白羊座的哲学。
I like to read history about pioneers.
我喜欢读那些先行者的他们的故事历史。
It's Jupiter in Aries.
这就是木星在白羊座的表达。
They get all enthusiastic, maybe, or excited talking about famous wars.
他们对于那些战役著名的战役，他可能就是特别的兴奋，特别喜欢去谈那些著名的战役。
Maybe when they were little boys, if they're male, they had little soldiers they played war.
也可能他们是小时候呢，他们如果小男孩的话，他可能还有那种小的那个士兵的玩具，他们拿着那个玩具玩。
Okay, but here I want you to see we've got this harmony between Jupiter in Aries and Mars in Capricorn.
但是在这个例子中，我希望你看到这个火星摩羯座的火星和白羊座的木星，它们之间是非常和谐的。
Already we had a connection because it was Aries and Mars.
我们已经有联系了，因为这里面有火星，也有白羊座。
But the trine means less likely to pull a muscle or hurt a muscle.
那么但是这样一个3分相呢，意味着这个人呢不太容易伤到他的肌肉。
Because Mars rules muscles.
因为火星它是对应着肌肉。
Okay. How many of you have ever had a muscle cramp?
有什么人不知道在座有多少人有那个肌肉痉挛？
You go out and strain a muscle in your leg from running or exercise.
你到外面去在跑步呀或者怎么样呢，给你的肌肉带来很多的压力。
You get a cramp.
然后呢，你就会肌肉痉挛。
Okay. This is where you have worked against the muscle.
这个呢，实际上你就是跟你的肌肉对着干了。
And the muscle is having to repair itself.
那你的肌肉呢就得自我修复一下。
All right, that's a Mars issue.
这是个火星的议题。
All right. We've got some questions here. Good.
Jupiter in Aries is similar with Mars in Sag. Is Jupiter in Aries similar?
I would say similar but different.
这位同学问，木星在白羊会和火星在射手相似吗？老师说相似，但是又不同。
You get a red star for that question too.
你问这个问题呢，给你一个小红心。
That's a very, very. Hold on, I got to give a red star here. That is.
给你一个小红心。
A very, very good question.
这是一个好问题。
All right. Mars has a lot to do with style of action, doesn't it?
火星和我们的行为方式是联系在一起的。
And my teacher many years ago said, a person with Mars and Sagittarius always walks as if they were wearing running shoes.
我的老师很多年前说，一个火星在射手座的人，他走路就像穿着跑鞋一样。
Their feet they're bouncy.
他们好像是在蹦蹦跳跳的。
They have an energized walk.
他们走起路来充满了能量。
Now, Jupiter as a planet, unless it's in your first house or the ruler of your ascendant, meaning Sagittarius, is not going to have a whole lot to do with your style of movement or your body.
那么木星作为一个行星，除非它在一宫或者是就是说它跟你的运动的这种方式和你的身体姿态是没有关系的。
So we have to think about the fact that Jupiter, unless he was in the first house or ruling the ascendant, meaning Sag rising.
所以说呢，除非这个木星在第一宫，或者是你的上升星座是射手座，它是你的上升星座的主导星。
It's not going to show up in the body language.
这个木星它不会在你的身体语言中体现出来。
Just like Mars by itself is not a planet interested in philosophy.
就像火星，它如果是单独看这个行星，它对哲学理念是没有任何兴趣的。
Now, a person with Mars and Sagittarius might be motivated to take an action because of their belief or philosophy.
那么一个人如果他的火星在射手座的话呢，他可能是因为他的哲学理念而采取行动。
You know, and a person with Mars and Sagittarius might become angry if someone is against or fighting with them in terms of their belief system.
那这个人呢，也可能会因为别人不同意他们的哲学观而生气。
But see how different that is from Jupiter in Aries.
但是你看看，木星在白羊座会有什么不同？
Jupiter in Aries just says, well, I believe what I believe and you can believe what you believe.
那么木星白羊座意思是，我信我的，你信你的。
I just happen to think that self-reliance is a good philosophy.
我恰巧认为，自力更生是一个好的哲学观。
They're not necessarily getting angry about it.
他们不一定因此而生气。
Though it might depend on where their Mars is.
当然，这也取决于他们火星在哪里。
If they had Mars in Cancer.
如果他的火星落在了巨蟹座。
Oops, I didn't mean to spill that tea on you.
不好意思，我并不是想把那个茶泼到你身上，把茶水溅到你身上。
Just because you disagree with my philosophy.
因为你不同意我的哲学理念。
But it really depends on where their Mars is.
不过这确实是取决于他们的火星落在哪里。
Because Mars has more to do with how you will act it out.
因为火星取决于你会怎么样的把你表现出来。
Jupiter is the belief system.
你的表达方式，而木星呢，它只不过是你的信念体系。
Okay, see the difference there?
你有没有看到这两者的不同呢？
Okay. All right. Someone with Jupiter in Aries could have a philosophy about exercise.
一个木星在白羊座的人，可能对于锻炼有他的哲学观。
Somebody may even give them a membership to a gym.
他们可能会加入一个会员，就是运动的一个俱乐部会员。
Look, I won a contest. I won a membership to a gym.
你看看，我赢了这个竞赛，我赢了这个俱乐部的会员卡。
But I have Mars in Cancer, and this gym is too far from my home.
但是我的火星在巨蟹座，这个体育馆离我家太远了。
I don't really like to exercise.
而且其实我真不喜欢锻炼。
So you know, I'm just gonna put the membership here.
所以说我就把我的那个会员卡放到这儿吧。
I'll look at it. I'll put it on the kitchen wall when I'm cooking.
也许我那个做饭的时候，我把它放在那个厨房的墙上。
I won a membership at a gym.
我在一个体育馆赢得了一个会员。
Makes me smile.
这让我想起来就会微笑。
Now I'm going to try some gourmet cooking here.
现在我要做点好吃的了。
Mars and Cancer.
因为他的火星在白羊座，在巨蟹座。
Right. Okay. All right. Let's move on here a little bit. These are good questions, by the way. Ooh, we got another one here.
这是好问题。
It says, excuse me, is it harmony if a person? Oh, it's the question about harmony. Asking a Libra about harmony, huh? If a person whose sun is Scorpio, Moon, Cancer do not have any aspects between sun and Oh, good question. Say that.
他说，如果是一个人他的太阳在天蝎座，月亮在巨蟹座，他们之间并没有相位，也是和谐的吗？
Another red star
再给你
question. I love these tonight. We're just getting red star questions. This is really
这都是红五角星的问题。
Okay. All right. There is a kind of vibrational harmony between Cancer and Scorpio.
巨蟹座和天蝎座之间确实有一些非常和谐的这样的震动。
Yeah. They're both water signs.
他们都是水象星座。
Okay. And Scorpio likes to survive. Cancer likes to cook. Seems like a good combination to me.
那个巨蟹座的人喜欢做饭，那个天蝎座的人呢喜欢能够生存下来，这是在我看起来是一个很好的组合。
All right. Now, as long as the sun and moon in this case are not square each other.
只要这两个行星不是成四分相。
Meaning an out of sign square.
因为刚才我们提到了这两颗行星是有可能形成星座外的四分相的。
They obviously don't have to be tried by degree.
因为他们未必就是真的是能够成三分相。
Which means the harmony is not pronounced, but there is some.
这就意味着，如果他们没有成星座外的四分相的话呢，虽然说没有成这个相位，也就是说这个并不是完全的这么和谐，但是确实有些和谐在。
There's certainly no conflict there.
毫无疑问，他们之间没有什么矛盾。
Okay, see what I mean? If, however, the sun and moon were trine by degree, then there's much greater harmony.
如果是这两个行星，它们确实成三分相的话呢，那么它们就会更和谐了。
Or ease in the expression of those energies.
就是它们更容易表达这两种能量。
By the way, I really don't know if this is absolutely true, but I have checked it out for the last 44 years.
而且随便说一下，我也不知道是否这个就是这样的。不过我过去44年确实这样检查过。
And over 85% of the time, approximately, the answer has been yes to this.
大概5%的情况下呢，对这个问题的答案是是的。
If the sun and moon are trine at birth.
如果是这个人出生的时候，太阳和月亮它成三分相的话。
And you're going to laugh at this answer, but I have to go through this. It suggests that your mother and father were at least in harmony during the time of your conception.
至少这意味着当你受孕的时候，就是说你的父亲和母亲他们是起码在那个时刻他们是和谐的。
No, I don't mean that they were having great sex at the time of your conception.
我并不是说当那个你的这个受精卵形成的时候，他们确实是有一个非常棒的性生活。
There's always some student that will ask that question.
总有学生问这样的问题。
From Scorpio.
有些天蝎座的学生会问这样的问题。
But what it means is that for a brief period of time, even though maybe your parents divorced later, maybe they were in conflict later, at the time that you were conceived, there was some harmony.
就是说，也哪怕你的父母后来有了矛盾，甚至他们离婚了，那么至少说，在这个受精卵形成的时候呢，你的父母还是很和谐的。
And this somehow
有一些和谐在的。
And this somehow resonates with harmony in you.
那么这个呢，也会在你的内心产生一些和谐。
I mean, there may have been other things that happened. Maybe your father went off to war, or your father died, or who knows what happened.
也许会发生其中一件事，也许你的父亲去参战了，也许你是死于战场，谁知道会发生什么
？So I've asked clients for many years. I'll say, well, do you know much about your parents' story around the time you were born? Have you ever told you anything about this?
那么我有时候会问我的客户，你知道吗？在你出生的时候，你知道你那时候你父母的故事吗？你出生时候的故事吗
And usually, if they
conceive, it's not born.
Around the time they're conceived, meaning when mom and dad, around the time that you were conceived, not birth, conceived.
Okay.
That suggests harmony.
Okay.
Some kind of harmony. So again, there's no way to prove that.
当然也没有办法能证明这一点。
But those who actually know something about that time will say, yes, my grandmother told me this, and I've seen pictures in the scrapbook. They were so in love. And,
但是如果是你们真的找到那时候故事呢，你可能会知道你可能说，我祖母告诉我们，或者是我看到了墙上的照片，他们那时候确实还是很相爱的。
They were not in harmony at the time. There was pressure, a lot of pressure, a lot of conflict. Conjunction shows that the parents were, more. It's an easy aspect. They were both. How do I say this exactly?
Trying to have a baby.
Yes, certainly. But it represents more they were of the same mind, of the same vibration.
那这位同学问，如果是他月4分相呢？那么大卫老师说，确实，那就代表了那个时候呢，你父母之间他们是有些冲突的，确实他们的生活中是在关系中是有些压力的，那么另外一个同学问，那合相呢？那合相老师说，那确实当时他们的正频是一样的，and this student says, her daughter had the sun moon trine, but she remember at that time she fight with.
She did. Well, I'm sure there's other aspects that show that.
那可能是有其他的相位，有这样的表示。他说，
Sure,
虽然说是太月3分相，但是这位同学说那个时候他和他女儿的爸爸3天一大吵，小天一小吵。
There are plenty of exceptions to this.
对这个来说毫无疑问是有例外之处的。
And you'll see this when we get into charts. If you have the moon square Pluto or the sun square Mars or anything.
比如说你太月是3分相，但是月亮4分了冥王星，或者是太阳4分了火星。
Then there was a time of great conflict around that time.
就是那时候呢，毫无疑问是有一些矛盾的，非常巨大的矛盾的在那个时候。
Somebody else says, I have a friend has the sun and moon conjunct, and fathers listen to her mother for everything.
有位同学说，我的一个朋友，他的太月合相，他的父亲就是说什么都听他母亲的。
Okay, all right. These are interesting examples here.
这是非常有趣的例子。
Yes, and again we're talking ease with the trine, which can be a good thing. It may not be.
当然了，对于一个3分相来说呢，我们再说的一遍就是说，它是一个容易的、很轻松的。那轻松可能是个好事儿，也可能不一定是个好事儿。
And you know what I might suggest to the client, to the student who said that her parents fought all the time that when she was conceived.
那么如果我的客户或者是学生问我啊，当他就是说他父母他受精卵形成的时候，他的父母有很大的矛盾，总是在大吵。
And excuse me for saying this.
抱歉，我要这么说。
But it looks like there was one night when they were not fighting.
但是至少可能有一个晚上他们没打。
Okay. So let's move on here. All right. Here we have a question from one of our other no-door students here.
另外我们另外一个落道的学生，他又有一个问题了。
Out of sign aspects show us how important aspects are. Aspects modify the expressions of planets, etc. And the question is, how do I explain the meaning of aspects?
那么这位同学问，why I don't have that? 星座外的相位向我们展现的相位有多么重要？相位修正了行星和星座表达。然而目前要关注于相位的意义，不论他们是在星座外还是星座内的相位。
Okay, here we go. Did you have this page?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now we're going to build sentences astrologically with aspects.
这样现在呢，我们要给相位呢来构建句子。
Okay, here we go. Some of these are going to be real simple. We're going to start simple.
有些例子呢是非常简单，我们从简单开始。
Okay. We know that Venus is about what you like and don't like.
我们知道金星是你所喜欢的和你所不喜欢的。
Right. Either one. Right. So what about putting Venus in the sign of Leo?
所以说我们把金星放进狮子座又会如何呢？
Be easy to say you like parties, or the person with Venus and Leo would say, I like parties.
那么很容易哈，我们造一个句子，金星在狮子座，我喜欢聚会，我喜欢 party。
Now I know I'm going to have some student out there with Venus and Leo says, I don't like parties.
我知道肯定有些学生他们的金星在狮子座，说我才不喜欢 party 呢。
We'll deal with you later.
我们以后再对付你。
Okay, all right. All right. But here, this is just one expression of Venus and Leo.
这是金星在狮子座的一种表达。
All right. Let's take Venus and Leo and say it's trine Uranus and Sagittarius.
我们把这个狮子座的金星让它和射手座的 天王星成三分相。
Now, what happens to this? You like parties.
对于这个你喜欢party 的这个又会发生什么呢？
You like really exciting parties with all different kinds of people.
你真的很喜欢和各种不同类型的人一起参加那种激动人心的派对。
So here what we've done is we've built a very simple idea.
那么我们在这里做的就是说，我们就是把一个很简单的这样一个观点
And we're
构建了出来。
we're showing that contact by aspect with Uranus generates excitement.
我们看到，当这个金星和天王星有这样的接触的时候呢，它就给这个金星的视座加入了这种激动人心的部分。
Why is this?
为什么如此呢？
What do we know is true in our key words and understanding of the planet Uranus?
我们知道天王星，它的关键词，我们对天王星的理解有哪些？
We know Uranus is a risk taker.
我们知道天王星是一个冒险的人。
We know that Uranus is also stimulating because it's the unexpected.
我们知道天王星呢是非常刺激的，因为它总是给我们带来意外。
In the positive sense, we call the unexpected sometimes a surprise.
有时候呢，如果是它是正向的意外的话呢，我们就叫它惊喜。
I like surprises.
我喜欢惊喜。
All right, this is Venus trine Uranus.
这是的金星和天王星的三分相。
I was surprised at the party. It was so exciting. I met lots of new people.
那个非常的有趣，在这个，因为我认识了各种各样不同类型的人，所以我觉得很惊喜。
I like meeting new and interesting people.
我喜欢去见新的，令人兴奋的这些人，
I like
有趣
people
的人。
that are unusual,
我喜欢那些不同寻常的人，
people that are original,
那些非常有创意的人，
people that are unique.
那些独一无二的人，独特的人。
疯狂豆。
我也喜欢那些疯狂的人。
Yes, Uranus.
这就是天王星。
See, so here we're talking about the social life of this person
所以说，在这里我们谈论的是这个人的社交生活。
and what they like in people.
他喜欢什么样的人？
They're not really interested, unless they have an aspect to Saturn, in people that are reliable.
除非他有一个金星有比较强烈的土星相位，他不太喜欢那些靠得住的人。
They're interested in people that are exciting,
他们喜欢那种令人兴奋的人。
that have a sparkle, something different about them.
就是这些人身上呢有一种火花，他们就是有一些与众不同的地方。
I get so easily bored with normal people.
普通人我很快就厌倦了。
This could also be Venus trine Uranus, couldn't it?
这也可能是金星三分天王星的表达。
Easily bored.
我很容易就厌倦了。
I need some excitement.
我喜欢这种兴奋感。
Okay. All right. And this, we have a student that says, it feels like me, but my Venus is square Uranus.
那么这边有一个同学问，这个听起来跟我感觉一样，但是我的金星4分天王星，这有什么不同呢？
And I'm sure you could tell us some very interesting stories about parties you've been to.
我想你肯定能够给我们讲一些你去的这个派对的故事。
And so could I.
我也可以给你们讲一讲，
But I won't.
但是我不会告诉你们的。
I have Venus square Uranus too.
我的金星也4分天王星。
All right. It means also that all these things that I've just said are also true for you.
也意味着刚才我说的这些对你来说也是真实的。
But that this has also created some stress in your life.
但是呢，这会给你的人生带来一些压力。
And that some of the crazy people you've attracted into your life have created chaos.
那么有些疯狂的你吸引进你生命的人，给你的生命带来了混乱。
And that some of the unstable, here we have a challenging word from Uranus, unstable people that you've met in your life have brought chaos into your life.
有一些不稳定的人，你带到你生活中的这些不稳定的人，给你的生活带来了混乱。
Now, what do we know? This is a very interesting question. I should give another red star for this one. I'm just giving red stars tonight.
这是一个很好的问题，我再给一个红五星吧。
This is so exciting.
看非常的令人兴奋。
Okay. You see, think about what the planet Uranus is about.
想想天王星是什么意思？
What's a really strong, good Uranus keyword?
天王星的一个非常强的、一个好的关键词是什么？
It's the word shock.
是震惊这个词。
Right. Exactly. Something happens all of a sudden, unexpected is a shock.
就是说突然发生，就是意外之料的事情，就是给我们震惊。
Now, if we have the trine, it's a surprise.
但是呢，
We have the trine, it's a surprise.
如果是它只不过是一个3分相的话，它只不过是个惊喜而已。
With a square, it's a shock.
但是如果是4分相呢，那就是令人震惊的事儿。
Right.
惊
I
吓。
was shocked when my girlfriend took off all her clothes at the party.
我的女朋友在那个派对上面突然把衣服都脱了，我简直是惊讶极了。
This is the square.
这就是4分相。
No, that did not happen to me.
不，我没有。
No, that did not happen.
大卫老师说他的女朋友没干过这种事儿。
All right. But again, what else does this tell us? Let's think this through a little more.
但是这意味着什么呢？我们再进一步想一想。
If we see the square with Uranus, to say like Venus,
如果是金星和天王星成为4分相，
it means that this person may have early in their life experienced some instability and some shocks.
意味着这个人呢，在他们早年的时候经历了一些不稳定的，而且一些让他震惊的、惊吓的事情。
And that these shocks or unstable circumstances had an impact on their development.
那么在他们的个人成长中，这样一个震惊呢，给他带来了影响。
And this impact has contributed to some uncertainty.
那么这样一种影响呢，它是让他会有一些不确定。
Okay. Uranus is the planet of uncertainty.
那么天王星就是那个给我们带来不确定事情的行星。
People will say the markets are unstable.
他们说这就是那个不稳定的这样一个标记。
Because the economy is uncertain.
因为我们的经济不稳定。
This is an example of some kind of square with Uranus.
这就是天王星和金星的4分相。
Like the square we've been having for several years between Pluto and Uranus.
就像我们要经过的冥天的这个4分相要好几年。
Okay. So this is a big clue if you see some kind of hard aspect with Uranus, like a square.
如果是你看到有一些个人行星和天王星形成4分相的话，这是一个很大的一个线索。
You can begin to ask your friend or your client some very interesting questions.
你可以问你的朋友或者你的客户一些非常有趣的问题。
What kind of unstable circumstances did you experience growing up?
在你成长的过程中，你经历过什么这种不稳定的状况？
Was there a time in your life when things happened and changed very quickly, very suddenly, very unexpectedly?
你的生命中是不是有一些时候你突然发生了一些变化，意料之外的变化，非常的不稳定的这些时期？
Did you have any shocks that turned your life upside down?
有没有什么样的震惊的事情让你的生活整个翻了个个？
And created insecurity due to uncertainty.
因为这种不确定性造成了一些不安全感。
Why do you think a person with Venus square Uranus can be impulsive?
为什么你觉得这样一个金天4分的人，他是有一种冲动在呢？他为什么这么冲动呢？
Maybe they had to learn how to bond quickly or socialize quickly with other people because they were often thrown into new situations.
这可能是因为他们老是把他们扔在一个新的情境下，所以说呢，他必须很快的跟别人建立社交关系。
Or they never knew when people were going to be there or not be there.
而且他们永远不知道人家什么时候会在那儿，什么时候又不在那儿了。
There was uncertainty.
有这种不确定性在。
So this is a response to the uncertainty they grew up with.
所以说，他是因为他童年的时候有这样的不稳定性，所以说他们对此形成了这样应激性的反应。
Such a conversation with someone who was born with either Venus square Uranus or Moon square Uranus or the Sun square Uranus, this becomes a very interesting and important conversation.
如果这个人不论是金星和天王星又成为四分相，还是天王星和月亮成为四分相，这个都会给他带来一个非常有趣的对话。如果你刚才这样问他们这些问题。
Because once you begin to identify the source of any destructive impulsiveness in your life, you can begin to change that.
因为一旦你鉴别出一些负面性的这样一些破坏性的这种冲动的你的行为模式的话呢，你就可以去改变它了。
And you still may always be a Uranian person in the sense that you crave or like excitement.
你还是同样那样的一个天王星人，你喜欢那些兴奋感。
But not to such a degree that it totally disrupts your life.
但是你不会说让这种东西最后完全的毁掉你的生活。
Okay, see what I mean? Okay, all right.
Someone asked about conjunction. What's the difference?
The difference is you're the one who's initiating it more.
那么如果是这位同学问，如果是合相会怎么样呢？那合相意味着可能在生活中你更主动的去创造这种让人震惊的。
Are we talking Venus conjunct Uranus?
Yes,
Is that what we're talking about?
yes.
Okay. Still, there was probably some shock you experienced with your mother or your mother's side of the family or through important females in your life as a child.
毫无疑问，还是可能是在你童年的时候，你母亲或者一些重要的女性，或者是你母亲的那边的人，会带来了一些让你震惊的事情。
But the conjunction also shows that there's a liveliness to your nature.
但是合相呢，表示了你的本性里面有一种这种很活泼的这种感觉。
You know, again,
很有生气的感觉。
the conjunction combines two things.
因为合相是把两个联系在了一起。
And is a more assertive force.
这是一个更果断的决断的力量。
Person with a Venus-Uranus conjunction is going to be a more assertive child.
那么一个金天合相的这样一个小孩呢，他可能是更决断的这样一个孩子。
Spontaneous.
会自发性更强的。
The square is more erratic, unstable, anxiety. I want to be impulsive, and then I don't. I do, and then I don't.
那么四分相呢，是一个更纠结的这样一个行为模式。我想去更冲动一些，但是又不想，我又想又不想。
Will I be accepted or not accepted? Accepted, not accepted. I don't care. Yes, I do.
我到底是接受还是不接受？接受还是不接受？我不在乎。不，我还是很在乎。
This is the square.
See? 这就是四分相。What about opposition?
The opposition is, I don't know if it's me that's impulsive and crazy or you.
那么四分相对分相呢是我不知道是我那么冲动还是疯狂，还是你更冲动还是疯狂，
Or both of us.
或者是我们俩都是这样的人。
And then maybe you find out, and again, there's some shock issue there probably.
毫无疑问，这里面有一些那些震惊的元素在，议题在。
Person could say, when I was 5 years old, my parents divorced.
这个人可能说，我5岁的时候，我父母离婚了。
And I ended up with my father.
结果呢，我跟父亲一起生活。
And then I got a new stepmother when I was 6 or 7.
6岁的时候呢，我又有了个继母。
You know, and she was kind of a wild woman.
她是一个非常狂野的女人。
You know, and unstable.
非常的不稳定。
This would be an example.
我刚才举的就是这样一个例子。
You could get that with the square too, though.
当然，这也是四分相，也可能是这样的。
The difference is a square tends to feel like it's more my problem.
那么不同之处是四分相更觉得，这是我的问题。
There's much more of an internal aspect to the square.
四分相里面带来一个非常内化的这样一个视角。
Internal.
内在的。
Whereas the opposition plays out very clearly in relationships.
而对分相呢， 很清晰的就会在你的个人关系中表现出来。
In this case, we were using Venus as an example, which is a relationship planet.
在这个例子里面，我们是用的是金星，当然金星本身就是一个关系行星。
But let's say it was the Sun Uranus.
但我们换个例子，我们就说是太阳和天王星吧。
The Sun Uranus square is more a sense of my conflict.
如果是太阳和天王星的四分相，你感觉到这是我的这种纠结，我内在的纠结。
The opposition is more about relationships.
而对分相呢，更是有关关系的。
Again, a woman with a Sun Uranus opposition.
一个女性，她如果有太天对分相的话，
she's going to like an unusual male.
她会喜欢一个不同寻常的男性。
A male who is unconventional or nonconformist.
或者是这种不是一般的这样的通常的这种传统的这种男人。
But she may also attract unstable males into her life.
但是她也会常常吸引来一些不稳定的男性进入她的生活。
Until she works that out.
直到她解决了这个问题。
She might say, "My father was a very exciting man."
她可能说，我的父亲是一个令人兴奋的男人。
But his life was very unstable.
但他的人生特别的不稳定。
He was there and then he was not there.
他有时候在我身边，然后又不在我身边。
So this is being worked out in the relationships.
所以说，这就会在他自己的两性关系中表现出来。
All right. Let's go on to the next thing here.
我们看一看下面一点。
Okay. Now we're going to add in another feature of what is in every chart.
那么我们下一步呢，就把另外一个元素加入到这里面。
We're going to add in houses.
我们要把宫位加入进来。
Now we're looking back at this trine between Venus and Uranus.
我们现在看看金星和天王星的这个三合相位。
Okay. Venus in the 6th house.
金星在第6宫。
The 6th house is conditions of work, place of work.
第6宫呢是我们的工作环境。
Okay.
工作场合。
Also co-workers.
也是我们的同事，和我们一起工作的人。
If you've got Venus in the 6th, you want to get along with your co-workers really well. That's important to you. Some of them may become your friends.
那个如果是你的金星在6宫的话呢，你希望和你的同事和平相处，他们中的有些人甚至还成为你的好朋友。
Venus in Leo in the 6th house would be very entertaining.
那么金星在第6宫狮子座呢，那可能是很有娱乐性的。
You know, you wore a new outfit today.
你今天穿了一个新衣服。
And you come wearing it into the office.
然后你就兴高采烈的走进办公室。
Everybody's smiling.
每个人都在笑。
And you're playing with this new outfit.
然后你就是穿着这个新衣服，你展现出来。
And this is entertaining.
这是很令人愉快的。
Venus in Leo is very entertaining.
金星在狮子座的人，他其实很喜欢娱乐他人。
They're the fun person. They can be the fun person in the office.
他们可能是这个办公室里面最有趣的那个人。
Getting attention, of course.
当然，他也吸引来注意力。
The co-worker with Venus in Scorpio may be looking at him and going,
也可能那些他们金星在天蝎座的人，瞅着这些金星在狮子座的人说，他们又来了。
Always having to get attention.
他们总是要吸引注意力呀。
Everybody's gonna look at you.
每个人都得看，都要去看你什么样啊。
Okay. But most people entertained by the Venus.
但是呢，很多人呢，他们就是办公室的开心果，很多人觉得，这很开心。
Okay. Maybe, like it says here, your company even wants you to organize company parties and special events.
也许你的公司呢，想让你来组织公司派对或特殊的活动。
And the trine with Uranus adds sparkle to this.
那么和天王星形成的三分相呢，更为这个增加了火花。
And Uranus is in the 10th house.
而且你的天王星在10宫。
So this is also part of your reputation.
所以说这也成为了你的声誉所在。
You put on amazing parties.
你能够组织特别让人惊喜的派对。
People at work are talking about your parties for 3 months afterwards.
在你举办这个派对以后，你公司的人呢，3个月以后还在谈论这个派对。
Right. Even in the company newsletter, there's a big picture, photograph of the party.
甚至在公司的那个新闻稿上面， 还会有你这个派对的这个照片。
There you are with the lampshade on your head, smiling.
就是说你戴着一个狮子头在那笑。
This is Uranus, see, lampshade on the head.
就是说这就是天王星啊，就是在头上戴一个狮子头的照。
Everybody loves it. You look so good in the lampshade.
Lampshade.
A lampshade like one of these.
A lampshade.
The shade of a lamp like this.
灯罩哈，你把那个什么头上放个灯罩，每个人都大笑。
Okay. I bet you don't do that in China, wear lampshades.
You can wear it.
I'll do that. No, this is only a joke in the U.S., I think. Okay. All right. Notice these key words here.
你看这里面的关键词。
Your original aesthetic taste adds special features to the quality of your work. Wow.
你独特的审美趣味给你的工作品质增加了特殊的风貌。
Look at the key words in that sentence.
你看看这个话里面的关键词，这句话里的关键词。
Original, that's Uranus.
独特的，这是天王星。
Aesthetic taste, that's Venus.
审美趣味，这是金星。
Special features could be Leo, could be the Uranian.
特殊的风貌可以是狮子座，也可以是天王星的表现。
To the quality of your work, well, that's Leo. Leo's about quality, about pride.
对你给你的工作品质，这是狮子座。狮子就是有关于品质，还有关于你的骄傲的。
You brighten up and bring excitement to the workplace.
你给工作场合带来光彩和激情。
Brighten up, that's Leo, very bright.
那个光彩，这是狮子座。
Workplace is 6th house.
工作场所，这是6宫。
Excitement is Uranus.
这个兴奋是天王星。
Okay. All right. Are there any questions on here now? I see Helen saying something about she was a kid. What's going on there? Let's see.
They're talking about Neptune.
Are they talking about Neptune?
You can go on.
Okay.
Go up.
Go up.
Helen said she didn't wear the lampshade.
She did not.
Did she wear?
We have a discussion about lampshades going on here.
What?
This is great.
Yeah.
What in the chart shows you will wear a lampshade?
不知道你的星图上是什么表现了你会戴那个灯罩哈。What is that similar when Venus in Leo and Venus in 5th house?
Yes.
金星在狮子座和金星在5宫相似吗？是的。
Except the person with Venus in the 5th house might have a special events company, their own special events company.
那么金星在5宫呢，它可能有一个特殊活动的这样一个公司。
Yeah, especially because rather than maybe their job for like for another company, they might have run their own.
Venus in 5th house.
Yeah, it might be their own. It is maybe a special events company.
他们可能有一个特殊活动的公司，他们有自己的公司。
Early in my practice, I have a client. She's got Venus in Aries, but in the 5th house, she is a clown.
那么我有一个客户，他的金星在5宫，在白羊座，他是一个小丑，他的工作。
She's a clown. In fact, she's got Venus in Aries, square Uranus in Cancer.
他是金星在巨蟹座，金星在 Aries 金星在白羊座4分巨蟹座的天王星。
She was Peaches the Clown. That was her name, Peaches the Clown.
他是小丑桃子。
She was president even. She became later president of the Clown Association in Georgia.
他是成为了佐治亚州小丑协会的主席。
I always thought clowns were kind of scary myself when I was little.
我小时候我看见那小丑的时候，我就觉得很可怕，小丑。
Kapada. You know. See, I spoke Chinese when I was a kid. No. I forgot it. That's what happened. No. All right. I talk about the person. Yes, I do. That's right. I mentioned the person in my book.
对，他是I don't know.
In my book, yeah.
他说在他的书中。
You were just a translator.
Yeah. 他说在书中写了这个人，我怎么不记得
Yeah. Okay. You didn't translate that part, though, did you? All right.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe.
All right. building, these are exercises here to build your astrological vocabulary.
所以说要构建你们自己的占星词汇和解读。
I love this stuff, by the way. I love building astrological vocabulary. I could do this every day just for fun.
我特别喜欢创建这个占星词汇，我觉得特别有趣儿，我可以每天都这么来做。
You can do this when you're sitting at Starbucks tomorrow.
你如果是明天坐在那个
Costa Coffee.
咖啡或者是星巴克，你可以自己来做这样的事情。
Right. And people look over and say, "What are you doing?"
别人可能走进来说你在做什么呢？
Yeah. And then that's when you can show them your ephemeris.
那时候你们可以向他展现一下你的星历表。
And look up their birth information.
然后看一下他们的生日信息。
You'll have a future client right there.
他就是你未来的客户了。
Okay. Mercury and Taurus conjunct the Sun and Taurus in the 3rd house.
水星在金牛座，合相太阳在金牛座，这个合相是在第3宫。
This is interesting, isn't it?
这很有趣。
Now, why did I pick Mercury and Taurus conjunct the Sun and Taurus in the 3rd house?
为什么我会选这样一个组合呢？
Because we were getting all excited, weren't we?
因为我们都会兴奋起来，是吗？
We've been talking about Venus and Leo, Trine, Uranus, and Sag.
当时我们谈的是金星在狮子座，3分射手座的天王星。
We were so excited.
我们特别兴奋。
Now we have to calm down.
现在我们要稍微平静下来一些了。It's me. Someone
says this? Great.
这位同学，我们这儿有一个同学有这样的相位。
Can we call them?
我们能Yes, you can.
All right. Who is it? May.
No. It's not mine.
Who is it?
Sun Ye.
Sun Yi. Great, Sun Yi. Let's call Sun Yi. Sun Yi, can we call you?
我们可以给你打电话吗，孙叶？
I'm gonna look you up on here.
017D071。
How did we get down to Z's there? Hold on, I want to.
071D071 D is D, that's 071. So you need to go up maybe.
I guess I do.
D
D what?
0 孙叶。Wow, I
Wow.
cannot find it.
Keep looking.
D071.
Oh, we're getting close. All right.
It is really. Oh, here.
Okay. Great. All right.
打开孙叶的，你可以打吗？
Call them. Come on, tech people.
那个彤彤，
Don't.
那个呼叫一下孙叶。
Let's call Sun Yi. This is great. Mercury in conjunct the Sun and Taurus 3rd house.
这是水星和太阳合相在金牛座3宫。有人吗？
Are they here?
过来，孙叶。
Are they there?
你是不是给他What's happened? OK.
We got him?
Yes.
All right. 你好。
你好，听到了吗？
Yes.
I knew you'd have a nice voice.
知道你会有个很好听的声音。
Yes, Taurus in the 3rd.
3宫的金牛座。
对。
Right. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
给我们介绍一下你吧。
好，就是那个太阳在金牛，还有水星在金牛，然后都在3宫，就是我感觉，对，然后我就感觉水星在金牛，就是感觉可能水星在土象星座吧，然后就是说话的时候会比较谨慎，然后就不是非常的那个怎么说呢？就是说话的时候不是非常的快，也不是会非常流利的那种感觉，就是想好之后才会去说这样的一种感觉。
Mercury in Taurus. When she speaks, she is careful, and we will have a considerate thought before she speaks.
Right. Right. And would you say that when you learn something that you really learn it, when you learn it, you take your time and you learn it?
就是说，当你学习的时候哈，你会花时间去学，但是如果是你真的是这样呢，你真的就学得很懂。
对，还有一个就是跟别人讨论的时候，也是非常愿意去跟别人去学习，就讨论学习的东西，但是讨论别的东西就不是很感兴趣。
She's interested in discussing about learning what she learned,
Yes.
not just interested in other things.
Right. The value of the information, very important. Taurus, third house.
就是金牛座3宫，信息的价值是非常重要的。
对。
This also means
金牛座
that you're interested in information that has practical value, practical application.
这也意味着你对于那些非常实际的、能够实际应用的这些信息，或者是能够实际应用的这些东西，你比较感兴趣。
对，就是太阳在第3宫，也是我平常会花很多的就是精力吧，然后也会放在这种学习各种东西上面，但是就是不聚焦，就是可能是3宫的原因，就是学的比较多，但是并不聚焦，就是这些感觉。
In third house, she learns a lot, but do not focus on one thing. It's very dispersed.
Dispersed, which would be the third house.
他说3宫啊。
Do you do any? Have you ever been done any instruction or teaching?
你有没有去做一些教学的事情？
就是我毕业以后一直做的有点类似于那种管理顾问的感觉，我估计也是跟教学也是相关的吧。
Management consultant.
Management consulting. Okay. All right, good. Consulting is very good. Third house. It's one of the consulting houses.
3宫也是一个比较好的一个顾问的宫位。
Taurus, of course, is a sign we associate with things of material value.
金牛座是和那个物质价值联系在一起的宫位，星座。
What have you been a consultant of?
那你那个管理顾问是做什么样的管理顾问？
是那个人力资源相关的。
Human resources management consultant.
Management consultant. Human resources. All right, that's very interesting. Do you tend, when you talk with people, do they say that you have a calming effect upon them in terms of your interaction with them?
当你跟别人交谈的时候，他们会不会说，你会给他们带来一种非常让他们平静下来的这样的感觉？
对，就是会给人一种信任感吧，然后就会觉得你这个人比较踏实，不是那种会忽悠的那种人。
Do not tell exaggerating.
Right. This would be what I would call reliable information.
就是说你会给别人很可靠的信息。
Meaning, if you were trying to sell me a car, and I knew you had Mercury and Taurus conjunct the Sun and Taurus in the third, I could depend more upon the information you were giving me.
这意味着，比如说你要向我卖一辆车，我可以信任你给我的信息，我可以依靠你给我的信息。
对，就是如果是卖一辆车，它有什么问题，我也会如实告诉你，不会就是乱说的那样。
If the car has some problem, I will tell you the truth. I won't.
Okay, right. And very what we call level-headed. In the West, we call that very level-headed, very sturdy.
非常可信。
Now, if you ever become a teacher of astrology,
如果你成为一个占星老师
you will be a good level-headed spokesperson for astrology.
你也会是一个非常有着冷静头脑的这样一个老师。
Offering very solid, practical information about astrology.
你会给别人非常坚实的，而且非常有实际运用着这样的价值的这样一些信息的占星老师。
You'll communicate the information that you see has the most solid value.
你会把那些最扎实的这样的价值的这些信息告诉别人。
And I hope you will charge a lot of money for it.
我希望你也能为此收到很多钱。
Yeah.
所以我现在就努力的在学这些，然后就希望自己能给别人提供有价值的信息。
That's why I hope to provide valuable information to others.
I'm sure you will.
我确信你会做到的。
Yes, that's great. And I'll be looking forward to the day you can tell me that you make a good living from astrology too.
非常期待有一天你会告诉我，你就是占星咨询给你带来非常好的生活。
That you were just able to buy another apartment.
你可以仅此再买一套那个房子了。
Okay, all right, great.
好的，谢谢大卫老师。
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us before we go on?
在我们往下讲之前，你还想告诉我们什么吗？
没什么了吧。
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
非常感谢你。
好 ，Thank you。
再见。All right. 叫Tom he can close that.
彤彤，你可以把关闭了他的那个麦克。
All right. So isn't this great? We got a Mercury conjunct the Sun in Taurus in the third house to talk to us.
多棒啊！有一位水星太阳合相在金牛座3宫的人跟我们聊聊天。
Some of you in the back were getting very relaxed.
坐在后排的人好像有点太放松了。
She had a strong voice.
她有一个很坚实的声音，嗓门挺。
But it wasn't too loud.
而且不会太吵，所以声音不是很大。
She sounded like a very common sense person to me.
她看起来像一个非常有常识的人。
Just like what I would expect.
就像我所期待的那样。
With Taurus in the third house, though.
他的金牛座是在第3宫。
Right. Very good. Excellent. What else might you think of with Mercury and Taurus?
水星太阳在金牛座3宫，你们还会想什么呢？
One of the things that occurred to me might be someone who provides information about finances.
那我可能会想到这个人呢，他会给一些金融上的信息。
I'm curious that there may have been other things in this student's chart that also pointed out HR or human resources.
我有些好奇，就是刚才在这位同学的尊业的星图上面，他是什么是让他成了一个人力资源的管理顾问？
The third house is one of the consulting houses.
3宫呢是一个咨询的宫位。
And also a house of the instructor.
而且是一个教师的宫位。
The trainer.
训练就是培训师的宫位。
Or teacher.
或者老师的宫位。
Okay. All right. Let's go on to some maybe other examples here. We got some other ones to play with here.
我们看看其他的一些例子吧。
If I have a student with Moon in Gemini in the 7th house, square Saturn in Pisces in the 4th, here's what they're doing right now.
如果我有一个学生，他的月亮双子座在7宫，四分了在4宫双鱼座的土星，他现在可能是在做这样的事儿。
I'm gonna call. No, I'm not. No.
我要打这个电话，我要打这个电话。不，我不打。不打，还是不打吧。
Maybe I should.
也许我应该去打电话。
Maybe I should.
也许我应该。
I'm gonna tell it no.
我要打这个电话，我要告诉他，还是算了。
No, next time.
下回吧。
Next time.
下回吧。
Next time. Why am I saying this?
为什么我这么说呢？
Let's explore this. Moon in Gemini wants to talk.
我们来探索一下。
Needs to talk. Needs to communicate.
月亮在双子座的人，他想去交流，他想去聊天，他也需要去交流。
But we have some pressure here.
但是在这里面有一些压力。
The moon is square Saturn.
那么月亮四分了土星。
Saturn can sometimes be an inhibiting factor.
土星有时候会成为一个抑制性的这样一个因素。
I want to express my emotions.
我想要去表达我的情绪。
But I fear I'll sound like an idiot.
但是我会害怕，我看上去像个傻瓜。
I fear in some way that people will not hear me, they will not understand me.
我害怕人们可能听不到我在讲什么，他们不会理解我的。
Some kind of pressure.
这里面就带着一些压力。
Mom always said I talk too much.
我妈老是说我说的太多了。
So I really try not to.
所以说我要现在就不要说那么多。
But I need to.
但是我确实需要说呀。
And I know I'm bad because I need to.
而且我知道，因为我需要说，需要去沟通，我不是个好孩子。
Because my mom said I was bad.
因为我妈对我说我不太好。
Now, these may sound like very simple belief systems.
这个听起来像是非常简单的信念体系。
You wouldn't believe how many people walk around with belief systems in them.
你们不会相信有多少人就在街上走着的人都是有像类似的这样信念体系。
What is your role as an astrologer with somebody who comes in to talk to see you who has an aspect like this in their chart?
如果有人他们来找你做咨询，他们在他们星图上有这样一个相位，你会跟他们说什么呢？
This person has a need to talk.
这个人他其实有这样一种需求，他必须去说话。
But it doesn't feel safe.
但是他们又感觉到没有安全感，觉得不安全。
So you need to help them to explore why it doesn't feel safe.
所以说你应该是去跟他们来一块探索一下，为什么他们觉得不安全。
Help them see how this developed in their life.
看看这样一种习惯是怎么样在他们的人生中发展出来的。
Even more so, what belief system developed out of that growing up experience.
进一步的看看在他们这样一个成长的经历中，他们形成了什么样的信念体系。
So they can undo the belief system that says talking is bad.
这样的话，他们才能去解开这样一个信念体系，就这个信念，比如说，聊天是不好的，
Or no one is really interested in what you've got to say.
或者是没有人真的对我想说的话感兴趣，
So shut up.
所以说闭嘴吧。
This is maybe what this person heard.
这个人可能是从小就听到这样的话，
So this is in their head.
所以说这样的话就在他们的脑海里面，
This becomes unconscious.
这些就变成了无意识的东西。
No one's really interested in it.
没有人对我想说的话感兴趣，
So they want to raise their hand in class to ask a question,
所以说在课堂上他们不会举手问问题，
but they don't.
他们想去举手问问题，但是他们又不会把手举起来，
So they don't get to answer.
所以说他们也得不到答案，
Not easily.
他们不会容易的得到答案。
They struggle with taking a test.
当他们去考试的时候呢，他们也会非常的挣扎，
But maybe they work hard.
但是也许他们非常的努力。
One thing we know about Saturn is it's hard worker.
我们知道土星的一点是，土星是一个非常勤奋的这样一个人，
So maybe they work hard to try to win the respect of their mother.
也许他们非常勤奋的努力想去赢得母亲的尊重。
And they go to their mother at the age of 7 to show them a paper they got a really good grade on.
也可能在7岁的时候呢，他一个考试试卷，他成绩很好，他想让母亲展示一下。
Mom comes home from work, mom's kind of tired.
也许是，但是呢，正好妈妈下班，妈妈觉得很疲倦。
This is Moon Square Saturn, we can bet mom was tired.
这是月亮4分的土星，我们可以确信这个母亲会疲倦，感觉很疲倦。
They hold their test up to mom.
他们把他们这个试卷呢给妈妈看，看见了没？
And mother looks at it.
那妈妈看了一眼，
Oh, you finally got a good grade.
他妈说，你最终真是拿了一个好分数啊。
Good for you.
还行吗？
Okay, go get dinner ready.
去把饭准备一下。
Mom's tired.
我累了。
Okay, whatever.
就不管怎么样吧。
Okay. So some kind of experience like this has happened.
所以说有类似这样的经历，在他的人生中出现过。
But the need to be heard and listened to is still there.
但是他希望被倾听的这种需求还在那里。
Mm-hmm. And you'd be amazed what could come out of this. You know?
你可以非常惊讶，如果你跟他有这样的对话、这样的探索，会发生什么？
Mm-hmm. Who knows? She's got Saturn in Pisces, right?
谁知道呢？这个人的土星在双鱼座。
If it is a she, we don't even know that.
也许是一个女性。我
I'm
们
just making this up
我们来就讲这样一个故事。
so you can learn this.
这样大家会
Could be a guy.
学会，也可能是个男人。
But let's say it's female.
我们说是个女性吧。
Saturn's in Pisces.
土星在双鱼座。
Maybe they'd say, well, you know, my grandfather on my mother's side used to tell me these great stories.
他说，我的外祖父过去常常跟我讲非常棒的故事。
My grandfather had an incredible imagination.
我的外祖父的想象力特别的有不可思议的想象力。
tell me stories.
他给我讲故事。
We used to look at these old photographs that my grandfather had.
我们原来常常看我外祖父的这些老照片。
He would tell me stories about people in the family.
他会给我讲那个我们家族中的故事。
It was really, really nice.
非常好，非常棒。
I always miss my grandfather after my grandfather died.
在我外祖父去世以后，我总是会非常的思念他。
Maybe this girl decides she wants to be in the film business.
也许这个女孩决定她想进入电影业。
Maybe she has a longing to write or be a writer of some kind in the film business.
她可能想成为一个剧作家。
But maybe she starts off with just a job.
也许不过她开始的时候呢，只是做一个就普通的工作。
Working her way up in the film business.
她在她的那个电影行业呢，是一步步向上爬。
First, she's just a production assistant.
刚开始她只不过制片人助理。
Saturn square is about hard work.
土星的这个四分相，她肯定要非常辛苦的工作。
No one in the film set knows that when she leaves the film set to go home, that she's staying up half the night working on a story.
没有人在这个他们的公司里面，没有人知道哈，当所有人都离去的时候，他还一直在深夜还在写他的故事。
So she looks a little tired when she's in the next day.
所以说第二天早上她看起来好像有点疲倦。
But she always looks a little tired.
不过她总是看起来有点疲倦。
Her mom was always a little tired.
因为她妈妈老是看起来有些疲倦。
Okay, and then eventually, as time goes on,
然后呢，慢慢的
she proves she is reliable and hard worker.
她向别人证明她很可靠，而且她是一个非常勤奋的人。
She eventually has a screenplay.
她最终有了一个电影剧本。
All right, and she takes a lot of time thinking, I want to give this screenplay to the director that I know.
她想了好久，她想把她写的这个电影剧本给她认识的这个导演。
Maybe they'll read it.
也许他们会读这个剧本。
So she hands it to the director.
所以说，她就把这个递给了这个导演。
And the director goes, oh, what's this?
这个导演说，这是什么？
Now, if she has been seeing an astrologer,
现在如果她见过一个占星师的话，
right? And this astrologer has been sending her also to a therapist.
那么这个占星师还把她送到了一个心理治疗师那里去过。
And she's been working on her issues.
她已经治疗了她的这个议题。
Working through her issues with her mom.
她也治疗了她和她母亲之间的这个议题。
And now believes that, she deserves to be heard and listened to.
而且她现在认为她值得被倾听。
She's ready for her hard work to pay off.
她已经准备好了，要让她的辛苦工作有所酬劳，得到酬劳。
So when she hands the screenplay
所以说，当她向这个导演把这个剧本递给这个导演
to
的时
this
候，
director that she spent 3 years writing,
她写了3年写这个剧本，
he'll actually read it
这个导演就会读这个剧本，
and give her his feedback
然后把他的这个反馈告诉她，
and say to her, you look, this, we'll come back to her and say, this is serious work.
这个导演说，这是个非常认真的工作。
I can tell you have spent a lot of time on it.
我可以看出来你在这里面花了很多时间。
And we need to talk.
我们需要聊一聊。
You have some ability here.
你有一些才华。
Isn't that a good story?
这是个好故事啊。
That's what happens when you work on a square, you turn it into something that is amazing in your life.
这就是你对一个四分相努力的工作，然后你就把这个做变成了你人生中的一个了不起的这样一个才华。
This is an outcome that comes from her working hard.
这是她辛勤工作，
But also working on herself.
而且是做内在的这种自我成长的工作。
And working through what were limiting things that happened when she was growing up.
而且她去度过了，就是去解决了，她童年时候一直在限制她的那些议题后
Do you
的
think
成果。
sometimes she was depressed?
你认为她会不会有时候会感觉到非常抑郁？
Of course she was.
当然是她会有这样的情绪。
But she worked through it.
但是他最终经历了这一切。
Got her sadness out.
他把他的悲伤释放了出来。
And discovered what the sadness was really about.
而且他真的发现了这种悲伤到底是什么原因。
Need to be heard and listened to.
我需要被倾听，我的声音需要被听到。
I need for you to respect my point of view.
我需要你尊重我的观点。
Respect is a Saturn word.
尊重是一个土星的词汇。
So this is the kind of work that you can do with your clients. Like this is the kind of work that I've experienced for over 30 years, over 35 years.
这是你应该给你的客户所做的工作，这是这样的工作，我在过去40多年所做的工作。
This is how personal growth is practical.
这是为什么个人成长是非常实际的。
Working hard is something you have talent with.
实际上就是要对于你本来有天分的这个部分去努力工作。
Because as astrologers, we know that Moon in Gemini could be a writer.
因为作为占星师，我们知道月亮在双子座的人，他可能是一个作家。
They could be. We know this is instinctive.
他们是可能成为这样的人呢，因为是月亮，我们知道他们有这样的本能。
They have a feel for it.
他们对这个写作是有感觉的。
And we know that Saturn in Pisces could show the need to take imagination and make it real. Because this is Pisces, imagination. Saturn is reality.
而土星在双鱼座，我们知道它是可以把它的想象力变成真格的这样的东西，真金白银的东西。
The filmmaker
是这个真格的东西。
The filmmaker Woody Allen has Saturn in Pisces.
伍迪·艾伦，他的土星就在双鱼座。
Okay, as an example.
这是个例子。
Someone's taking, that which is unreal, making it real.
这就是他们把那些想象力落实了下来，把那些好像看上去不实在，好像是虚幻的东西，变成了实际的东西。
And a person with Saturn in Pisces might make a commitment to work hard at something that inspires them.
一个土星在双鱼座的人，他们可能是承诺让那些激起他们灵感的东西能够写下来，落实下来。
Which can be a lot of different things. It doesn't have to be film. It could be many things.
它可能是各种各样的事情，不一定非得是电影儿。
With music.
也可能是音乐。
Could be compassion in the sense of wanting to work in the medical field.
也可能是来自于一种慈悲心，他们希望在医疗领域工作。
You can think about that. Maybe this person, maybe their mother had health problems.
也许他们的母亲有健康问题。
And that was part of their frustration growing up.
这也是他们从小的时候他们的一个感觉到非常沮丧，令他们沮丧的问题。
But they also learned how themselves to be a nurturer of their own mother.
然后他们也学会了如何去呵护他们的母亲。
Even though it frustrated their childhood because they had to grow up earlier.
虽然说让他的童年非常的令人沮丧，因为他们不得不早熟。很早就必须成长起来，担负责任。
Saturn is often about having to take responsibility at an early age.
土星意味着你童年的时候就必须承担责任。
In this case, maybe responsibility for mom.
在这个例子里面，可能是从小就要为母亲承担责任。
Or for the family in some way.
或者是为他们的家庭承担责任，以某种方式。
And maybe you saw your mother suffer. You saw your family suffer.
也可能你看到你的母亲在受苦，你看到你的家人在受苦。
And you felt compelled that when you grew up, you would do something about this kind of suffering.
那么你觉得情不自禁的有这样的感觉？我长大了以后，我一定要去来解决这个苦难。
So you go into a health field that deals with this problem.
所以说你进入医疗领域去治疗这个疾病。
And one of our students here, which is Tian.
和甜甜。
Tian. Okay. Tian says your story sounds like the 10th house.
和甜甜说你的这个故事像时宫的故事。
Well, we are talking about Saturn here, even though it's in the 4th.
我们是谈这个里面是土星，即便是这个土星在4宫。
I'm going to give out my last red star of the night.
我把今晚的最后一个红五星给何甜甜。
I would say that is it 和甜甜
嗯
is very good observation.
何甜甜的这个观察是非常棒的。
Could have been the 10th house. It wouldn't have been Saturn and Pisces in this case, but it still would have, you know.
可能是土星在10宫哈。
Right. You know, so you can come up with other examples.
所以说你可以写其他的例子。
You know, maybe Saturn was in the 4th, but maybe it was opposite the midheaven or like conjunct the IC.
也许是土星在4宫，但是正好是对向中天，正好在和下中天。
That's the teacher's way of cheating.
这是老师来那个什么作弊的一个方式。
I know enough astrology, I can cheat.
我知道占星学的知识够多，所以我可以作弊。
We've got an aspect to the midheaven because Saturn is on the IC, it's opposing the MC, which in reality would make it a career issue.
那么我们把这个土星放在下中天，正好是对冲中天，这就可能把这个月土这个4分相变成了一个跟职业相关的这个故事了。
Maybe the films that they would make would be about family.
也许他们要拍的这个电影是家庭电影。
And family problems.
是发家庭问题的电影。
And the main character is always a struggling woman.
那么他们的主人公总是一个纠结的女性。
Overcoming obstacles.
这个女性总是要去克服一些障碍。
Through hard work and perseverance.
通过那个坚持不懈和勤奋的努力。
Okay, again.
通过奋斗和坚持。
Sorry. Well, we've gone 11 minutes over tonight.
我们今天超时了11分钟。
Right. And I could probably go another 2 hours, but I have to stop.
我们还是停止吧。
All right. Some of you may think I'm a wind-up astrology teacher. Just wind me up and I just keep going.
可能这个老师只要给他上那个钱，他就能够一直讲。
All right. Thank all of you for being here tonight.
非常感谢大家今晚在这里。
Thank you. 再见。
拜。